Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Root Beer here with question number 10, the last question in Part A of the Grade 7 Gauss paper from 2005, made by the wonderful folks at the CEMC at the University of Waterloo. Question 10 reads as follows. In relation to Smith Falls, Ontario, the local time in St. John's, Newfoundland is 90 minutes ahead, and the local time in Whitehorse, Yukon is 3 hours behind. When the local time in St. John's is 5:36 p.m., the local time in Whitehorse is... Okay, so we're not in this question given a relationship between St. John's time and Whitehorse time, but we can actually work that out using Smith Falls, Ontario as a little bit of an intermediate. Okay? Because we'd like to be able to say, Whitehorse is, 6 hours ahead or something like that. But what we can do is, and here I'm just going to draw a very silly little Canada. I know the Great Lakes sort of messed things up a little bit. And I didn't leave enough room for Newfoundland. Typical Ontario person. Actually, I do know Canada's a little flat. 49th parallel and all that fun stuff. So we get the Great Lakes, and then we get sort of a little extra bit, and Nova Scotia's off there. Not particularly important just for the question. And then we have Newfoundland, and then I know we have the bay there, and a whole mess of islands. And Baffin Island. Anyway. So we got Whitehorse here, we got Smith Falls, I guess, is here. I don't actually know where Smith Falls is in Ontario. Typical Southern Ontario person, typical Southern Ontarian, I know. And then there's St. John's. I just like the geography illustration. So it's 90 minutes here, which is another way of saying an hour and a half. So it's an hour and a half distance there. And then we were told... Well, not distance, but difference in time. And then 3 hours difference there. So in total, the difference is 4.5 hours. Okay? So 4.5 hours, and then we need to be very careful. 4.5 hours, do I subtract that? Do I add that on? What's going on? Might label this a little bit better. Smith Falls, Whitehorse, and St. John's. But, so we got to carefully read. 90 minutes ahead. Whitehorse is 3 hours behind, so Smith Falls is 3 hours ahead. So St. John's is 4.5 hours ahead. So you got to think about it. If it's 8 p.m. here, and you are 1 hour ahead, it's 9 p.m. for you. You got to think through that carefully. It's not a trivial thing. I know adults who are messed up by that all the time. Okay, I think where I am, England is 7 hours ahead, and people keep thinking, they're getting up as we're going to bed and that sort of thing. Not quite the same. Or they're as we're going to bed, they're having lunch. It's actually the other way around. We're having lunch as they're going to bed. Anyway, so even I get screwed up by it. Anyway, but my point is, 4.5 hours. We need to subtract that from the time. So if in St. John's it's 5:36, we need to subtract 4.5 hours. So we need to subtract 4 and 30 from that. Okay. As an aside, when you become an adult, you'll start watching programs that are broadcast live, and you'll be. I watch a streaming service online, but the person who's doing it, the person who streams that I like watching, is in California. So I have to remember when they're streaming at 1, it's going to be 4 here and that sort of thing. Just little things to keep in mind. But you pick it up more, I hope, if you haven't already, if you become an adult, when you become an adult. All right, so we need to subtract 4:30 off from that. So. Fortunately, the numbers are nice. I think it was p.m. Subtract off 4 hours and 30 minutes. we get 106. Okay, so we should be looking for 106. It was PM, right? Yep. And 106, there it is, A. All right. So, a bit more explanation in my video than I think is necessary. Certainly we didn't need to draw a map of Canada. But this was a non-trivial question because time is something that a lot of people do struggle with. I know at the university where I work, just to tell another story, we are having to phase out the clocks that have the 1, 2, 3, and the 12, just because some students don't know how to tell time from that, and so in exams they don't know how much time they have left. I and a bunch of other people my age think that's a sad state of affairs, but everything's going digital, so it doesn't really matter. Anyway, that does it for question 10. That concludes part A. So we got question number 11, but that will be handled in another video. Thank you for watching, and thank you for listening.